your church. It's really relegated to your home. And even your home can be at risk if you decide to rent out the basement to somebody. Because if you rent out the basement, theoretically you have to rent it out to the gay couple next door, even if you believe that homosexuality is a sin. The Hobby Lobby case is going to be one of the biggest cases ever to come down the pike for the Supreme Court, and it will be interesting to see how Justice Kennedy in particular votes on that. Justice Kennedy has a very mixed record on these sorts of cases. He has voted for the proposition that there is some sort of blanket right to homosexual sodomy enshrined in the Constitution, but he's also a fan of kind of broad individual rights. And so if he feels like a religious business owner is having his or her rights violated, then he may rule the other way. I'm sure this is going to come up tomorrow night because we're having our big debate over at Seattle University. I talked about a few minutes ago. KTTH.com is where you're going to be buying those tickets. You're going to want to be there at 7:30 tomorrow night. The VIP reception is about an hour before that. And it should be really a knockdown, drag-out, pure six intellectual conversation. Really looking forward to it. A lot of folks on the stage. Going to be me, Michael Medved, David Bose is going to be moderating. Some folks on the other side as well. Should be a very, very interesting situation and a very, very interesting conversation. And I look forward to seeing you there. $15 for you, $10 for students with a student ID. KTTH.com is where you can get that. Now, when we return here, another huge scandal breaking at the Obama administration. And yes, this one is about missing emails too. Unreal. Ben Shapiro Show, AM 770 KTTH, KTTH.com.
You're listening to The Ben Shapiro Show on AM 770 KTTH.
You're listening to The Ben Shapiro Show, AM 770 KTTH, KTTH.com. Now, Bill Clinton is not known for his truth-telling. He's not. Right? He's not. If there's something that Bill Clinton is known for, it is not the truth-telling. But Bill Clinton has a problem, and so does Hillary Clinton, and that is they're elitists. And these are people who make an awful lot of money, and they're trying to proclaim that income inequality is the scourge of humanity. Hillary Clinton, in the last couple of weeks alone, has suggested that when she and her husband left office, they were, quote-unquote, dead broke, with heavy debt. She neglected to mention that at the time they had a $2.85 million townhouse in Washington, D.C., as well as a $1.75 million mansion over in Chappaqua, New York. She didn't mention that. She also has said that she's not truly well-off. She's not like those truly well-off people who don't pay their taxes, because they pay capital gains. She's not truly well-off. She's just kind of sort of well-off. Well, now Bill is jumping into the act. Bill has said that Hillary's not out of touch. Hillary's not out of touch. How do we know Hillary's not out of touch? Well, why don't we let Bill explain?
We go to our local grocery store on the weekend. We talk to people.
Okay, let me stop it right there, and then I'll let him finish. Raise your hand if you believe that Bill and Hillary go to their local grocery store together. Raise your hand if you believe that they're walking behind that shopping cart looking for the ramen top noodles. Really, if you believe that and your hand is up right now, please slap yourself on the head because you're crazy. Bill and Hillary have never been shopping together. Bill is too busy trying to grab the butt of the checkout girl. And Hillary, and here's what I wonder. Hillary has admitted openly that she hasn't driven a car since 1996. How do you go shopping without a car? In Chappaqua, New York. And what sort of grocery store do they go to? What is the local grocery store? Why have we never seen a picture of the two of them grocery shopping? And the media loves these kind of stories when they're Republicans. When it's George H.W. Bush checking out a new type of scanner at the supermarket, and he says, wow, this is really cool, a new type of scanner. The media tries to turn it into George H.W. Bush doesn't know what a supermarket scanner is. Right? That was a big story in 1992 when they were trying to portray him as out of touch and blue blood. When Mitt Romney talks about various machines that allow you to order sandwiches, then the leftist media suggests, well, Mitt Romney, he's out of touch. He's never seen one of these machines before. When Bill Clinton says about Hillary that they are not out of touch because they go to the grocery store together, we're just supposed to take that at face value. Look, Bill and Hillary do not share much except a love of power, tremendous ambition. But nonetheless, Hillary Clinton says that, Bill says that Hillary's not out of touch because they like to head on over to the local CVS. Presumably they go shopping for, well, they don't go shopping for contraceptives. I'm wondering what they do go shopping for.
We go to our local grocery store on the weekend. We talk to people in our town. We know what's going on.
The trouble for Hillary Clinton began when she said this.
We came out of the White House not only dead broke, but in debt.
It is factually true that we were several $1 million in debt.
Today, David Gregory asked the former president about the way Hillary Clinton has described their finances.
Can you understand as a political matter that could strike people as being out of touch?
Yeah, but she's not out of touch, and she advocated and worked as a senator for things that were good for ordinary people.
Oh, well, that's what she did. You know, it doesn't matter that she's wildly out of touch. She worked for the ordinary man. I love that they are now having a poverty off in the Democratic Party. I talked about this a little bit yesterday. They're basically all running around as super rich people talking about how poor they are, as though there is some sort of added merit. This is what Marxism does. Marxism creates the perception. And I asked our Marxist city councilwoman, Shama Sawanthas, during our debate, I asked her, at what point in a person's life do you go from a wonderful poor person to an evil rich person? When exactly and how exactly does that transition happen? Is it just through the power of earning? Like the minute that you get a paycheck, you turn evil? That seems to be the premise of everything that the Democratic Party is doing today. And I got to tell you, I don't buy it. I have nothing but sympathy for people who are poor. You know why? Because they want to be rich. I wanted to be rich too. Hopefully one day I will be permanently rich. Thank God I earn a lot of money now. I would like to be permanently rich. That seems like something worth shooting for. I'm not going to apologize for that. You shouldn't apologize for it either. Providing for your family, making sure they have the lifestyle that they deserve, is something you fight for. And when you see all these people who are earning a fair bit of money, proclaiming that they are actually just commoners, as though that grants them some sort of extra moral legitimacy, it's kind of sick-making. Joe Biden, of course, did the same routine
I can
yesterday.
speak a little bit from my own experience. Now, the first thing I was going to say is, look at Biden, man. He's got a mildly expensive suit on. He's Vice President of the United States of America. He makes, notwithstanding he's listed as the poorest man in Congress, he still makes a lot of money as Vice President of the United States, and I do, by the way. I do. Don't hold it against me that I don't own a single stock or bond. Don't hold it. I have no savings account. But I get a great pension and I get a good salary. And for real.
Well, you know, the Democratic Party has even lost Jon Stewart at this point. Jon Stewart over at Comedy Central, the lead propaganda wing for the Democratic Party, who appeals, Stewart's program appeals to the facile among us. It appeals to those who think that the height of cleverness is a raised eyebrow. But Jon Stewart has lost it with Hillary and Biden, says that they're trying to out-poverty one another. This is Jon Stewart last night on Comedy Central.
Clearly, there's only one way to settle which Democratic candidate can appeal best to traditional blue-collar Reagan Democrat voters. Looks like we need to have ourselves a good old-fashioned pour-off! I reckon it's time to find out which of these two is just more plain folk. Madam Secretary.
We came out of the White House not only dead broke, but in debt.
I still get emotional just thinking about it.
By the way, worth noting, Bill Clinton actually said in that same clip that he was the poorest president in the history of the United States, which would come as a significant shock to, I don't know, Abraham Lincoln.
Well played, Mrs. Clinton. But if I know Joe Biden, you just brought a $100 bill to a loose change fight.
He's Vice President of the United States of America. He makes, notwithstanding he's listed as the poorest man in Congress.
How poor is Biden? Can't even afford a first-person pronoun. That's how poor he is. Your move, Madam Secretary.
We had no money when we got there, and we struggled to, piece together the resources for mortgages for houses.
Yeah, when you're appealing to the middle class, you may want to use the singular. When referring to the most valuable asset most people will ever come in contact with. Biden, I see an opening.
For 36 years, I commuted from Washington, D.C. to Wilmington round trip every day. And don't hold it against me that I don't own a single stock or bond. Don't hold it. I have no savings account.
Don't hold it against me, but my clothes are made of old curtains.
And that's what it's become, and it is. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and it's stupid. I mean, come on. We're supposed to believe that all of these people who can afford to buy all of us 3 times over, All of these folks are just, they're so poor. They're so in touch with the common man. You know, I grew up in a house that had one bathroom, and there were 6 people living in that house, and I shared a room with my 3 younger sisters. I don't talk about it a lot because I don't think it's that important. I don't think that it grants me any sort of great moral legitimacy. I don't think that it makes things all magical. I don't think it makes me a better person. I certainly don't think that I'm a worse person now than I was then. And I don't think my parents are worse people now than they were then, now that they have a 4-bedroom house instead of a 2-bedroom house. If you believe that wealth confers some sort of moral disadvantage, I don't get it. I don't get why. It makes no sense to me. But this is the entire Democrat. This is what Democrats have to do. Their entire proposition is that for some odd reason, Republicans are evil and nasty because Republicans think that it's good to be rich, as opposed to Democrats who presumably value non-earning and non-striving and non-success, because that sort of makes you a better person. If you're unsuccessful, then that means that you haven't screwed anybody in your life. That's the underlying message here. The underlying message for Democrats is that if you have succeeded in terms of your finances, that's only because you took it away from somebody. You didn't build that. Therefore, if you are unsuccessful, you're a better person because in a zero-sum game, the loser is the person who is nicer. What utter and sheer nonsense, and what a real rejection of what the American dream actually means. Now, as we continue here on the Ben Shapiro Show, we're going to be talking with Tom Fitton over at Judicial Watch. He's the president of Judicial Watch, and he's been a moving force in uncovering the IRS scandal. And we'll talk with him about a new scandal that has now arisen over at the EPA. Ben Shapiro Show, AM 770 KTTH, KTTH.com. Well, this week we've learned that the IRS lost, magically, 2 years of emails from Lois Lerner. And not only that, they drilled a hole in her hard drive to ensure that nobody could get the lost emails. And now we are learning that the Environmental Protection Agency has now confirmed to the House Oversight Committee that her staff is unable to provide lawmakers all of the documents they requested on the proposed Pebble Mine in Alaska because, you guessed it, of a 2010 computer crash. Quote, "We're having trouble getting the data off of it, and we're trying other sources to actually supplement that. We're challenged in figuring out where those small failures might have occurred and what caused them to occur, but we've produced a lot of information." So in the last 2 weeks, we've found out that 2 major agencies of the Obama administration have magically lost emails. Well, one of the folks who's been doggedly pursuing the IRS as well as the EPA on various grounds is Tom Fitton over at Judicial Watch. He's the author of The Corruption Chronicles, and he's also the producer of the new film District of Corruption. Tom, thanks so much for joining the Ben Shapiro Show.
Hey, Ben, good to be with you again.
Okay, Tom, let me ask you this. There are these hearings this week with John Koskinen, the head of the IRS, who bears a striking resemblance to Admiral Akbar from Return of the Jedi. And he was claiming that there's no corruption whatsoever here. In the words of the White House, there's not a smidgen of corruption anywhere here. Why shouldn't we believe the Obama administration and the IRS when they claim that these emails from Lois Lerner magically disappeared?
Because there's been no independent